doing, though. You know what I mean? What they're actually been doing is showing that they want Ukraine to be neutral. They wanted weapons out of Ukraine. It's just like when Russia put weapons in Cuba. We didn't like that. We postured against that. You know what I'm saying? How is this? How is that anything different from what Russia is doing to Ukraine?
I agree with you, man. And it is such a Eurocentric view, and it's so honestly, even the fact that they're not even called Europe, like I always, even as a kid, thought that's so racist. It's like, you are physically on the same continent. What is this Europe-Asia thing? They are Europe. You are all Europe. Like, we're all Europe. They do this. What is this divide? It's literally just like, this is where the civilized people are, and then this is where the savages are. So you are playing by different rules than us. So according to and I could feel it in myself too, even initially when I see anything, it's almost like you have this loyalty to America. I'm not even American, I'm Canadian, but there's almost this loyalty to America from Canadians that like, yeah, America does all that, but how dare Putin do it? Like, you're not allowed to do it. It's like we're such kiss asses to the great empire, and it is a great empire, and it is a great, like, a lesser evil, and like we want it to do well and we want it to survive, but this going down this road of escalating this war with Russia, I think this could be just so detrimental to America and to Americans too. You know what I mean? Like, it's in everyone's best interest not to fight.
Of course. First off, all these sanctions that are crippling the Russian economy, that's also going to pour into Europe. And when it pours into Europe, it's going to come to North America. And when you say you're not American, I'm going to give you a different way of looking at it. America to me is a continent instead of just a country. The country that we call America is the United States of America. You know what I mean? Whereas America in itself is just a continent. Okay. So technically, you're still American.
Yeah. No, listen, this is one God's green earth. I mean, we are all children of the Most High God. That's how the Buddha teaches us to think about it. That's how Jesus says it too. We should be looking at each other and ourselves as children, even as we get older. Hohenheim is also here, everyone. Hohenheim, what's up, man? I see you, buddy.
Hey,
yeah, jump in here, man. How do you feel about this? Which are you on the same thinking as us, or do you think like it's time to go to war?
No. I mean, when I was involved in politics, as in when I kept up on politics and believed the rhetoric and the propaganda and everything else that comes out on a daily basis, I was very much pro Ron Paul. So I'm very non-interventionalism.
I used to love Ron Paul, man. Ron Paul was the truth. For a minute, Rand Paul, not so much. He's good too, I think. You don't like him?
No, he's good. He's just not his father.
Ron Paul is consistent all the way through, you know? He's amazing.
Yeah, I went in really hard behind Ron Paul for 2 consecutive presidential races. All over Indiana. Really. I was in charge of the grassroots movement for most of Indiana.
Hohenheim, you are involved in the community. That's great, man. That's great.
Yeah. Like I was, for a solid 6 years, I was like the face of the Libertarian Party for the state of Indiana, giving talks on non-interventionalism and grassroots movements and everything else.
He was great. The only thing that I didn't agree was the healthcare thing, but it was a very unfortunate soundbite when he was at the Republican. I'm sure you know about this, but it's such a famous soundbite where they're like, honestly, he's not wrong when he says this though. But they asked him the question like, okay, so what if someone doesn't have healthcare? What happens to them? And he goes, well, then they die. And the crowds, like some people started cheering in the crowd. It was not a good look for him, but
right, no, but the thing is that it's the reality of it. You know what I mean? That's what he's speaking to. It's like, look, if you can't afford healthcare, like, I mean, if you're shot on the street and no one takes you to the hospital, you're probably going to die. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
But
of
course.
And that is why I think that the whole insurance system is a scam in itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I did find that weird about him. I never quite understood why he didn't get on board with healthcare, because healthcare seems to work in other countries, and insurance is a scam. But if the government it's one of the, I know government's so inefficient at so many things, but we look at it in Europe, Canada, Australia, like all these countries have better healthcare. It costs less money. It's efficient. The insurance companies, they don't have a chance to be scams. Like in America, this half capitalist system is almost built to turn them into scams, I feel like, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Oh,
and
definitely.
part of that because we are only one of 2 countries that even allows us to actually advertise drug companies. We're only one of 2 countries in the entire world, us and New Zealand. In New Zealand, it's very, very strict on their policies when it comes to drug advertising. You have to be very straight to the point and forward about what you're saying, what you're selling, what your drug actually does. For us, we can show people being happy and healthy, and it raises a million different questions. There's too much, again, money or materialism, because I mean, on the back end of money, what comes down to that is materialism as to what we actually are getting from all that money in the first place. Like, that's the biggest problem with it, you know. But like,
I mean,
Ukraine,
exactly. Because we pay into all this money into the insurance companies, and what do? First off, it's hard to even get in contact with them, and then on top of that, they just overburden the free care system anyway.
Yeah, absolutely right. We're paying in case things will happen when we know that they will happen eventually, and then at the end of the day, we end up having to fight for what we paid for in the first place. It's the most backward system for services that we have in the United States, basically. But yeah, like it's interesting because out of the perspectives here on Ukraine, I'm incredibly conflicted because as a Ron Paul supporter, you know, I've always been very non-interventionist. So the libertarian part of me is saying, look, like, it's not our problem. Don't get involved. It'll start World War III. At the same time, like, I'm so infuriated that Putin gets to pick on Ukraine. Like, I've never, even during the war on terrorism, I mean, when I was 13 and the 2 towers were attacked, okay, I was livid and wanted to join the military. But it wasn't soon after that when I realized that we weren't going to war to protect American citizens. We were going to war to protect American interests. And I very quickly changed my tune on it. With this, I'm like, I just can't stop thinking. It's the empathetic part of me. I can't stop thinking about the people in Ukraine. I'm 33 years old, and I want to go fight against Russia because they're being bullies. At the same time, how hypocritical is that of me? There's 194 countries in the world, and we're in like 143. Literally, we have ground troops in 143 countries around the world.
Yeah.
What kind of
and right up against Russia too, and right in their backyard with Iraq and Syria. Like, they did airstrikes on Syria. The Russians backed, I think, the Syrians when that happened. This is all unacceptable anywhere near America. Not acceptable ever in a million years.
No, we're the world's largest terrorists. We are.
That is true, but I also, the way I view it in itself, Noam Chomsky said that the object of NATO is not to defend against Russian expansion. The object of NATO is to control the world's energy. I don't feel like so much Russia is being a bully, whereas I disavow the illegal war that he's starting, but I feel like it's Russia being pushed into a corner. There's 2 sides of the coin, and they're trying to say, no, it's not the Western aggression. It's the aggression coming from Russia, but it started with Western aggression.
Yes, right. Of course, like it's almost in a broader sense, our fight for resources all the way back to Vietnam. Okay, started this way before we ever stepped foot on any foreign soil. Like, and it's the truth. Like, and that was why it was so important that we still try to understand the mindset of what Putin's going through, because from a political standpoint, there's logic behind his logic.
100%, man. He's been saying it for 6 years.
I mean, we're being very hypocritical. Putin said it himself. They're searching for WMDs. I know he was saying it jokingly, but it's like right now we're sitting here condemning Russia from invading. Meanwhile, we're sitting here and occupying Syria.
Yeah.
I just think that's the greatest thing for Putin to be like, hey man, we're looking for weapons of mass destruction, just like you guys did.
That's
I
so
love
funny.
that.
Did he say that? He's
Yeah,
like
he did say
Ukraine,
that.
weapon.
It's so great. It's so great. Way to
These,
kick
that's
America right in the balls. Like,
That's the thing
yes.
with Russians. Like the Russians, whether it's Putin or like Zelensky or whatever, like they're the comedian is the politician, and they're kind of doing it at the same time. That other guy, the other guy who's like poisoned and in jail now, he was like that too. But that's such a troll from Putin. You know, don't worry, weapons of mass destruction. Oh my god, dude, that's so funny.
And it's so messed up because like going back to my question with RT, it's so messed up because now we're being forced to only listen to Western media and the propaganda coming from Western media. Like when they said a Russian tank shot a Ukrainian apartment building just to find out it was a Ukrainian tank, or when they said 13 soldiers bravely died in Snake Island when it turned out to be 86 soldiers and they're alive and well.
They're alive and well. Yeah, yeah. But who put that out? You're saying that that's from the Ukraine side that put that out? Because
The Ukrainians put that out, that it was that
Right.
about Snake Island. The Ukrainians put out, and Western media in itself put out about the apartment building being shot by a Russian tank, and they also put out a video of a Ukrainian man kissing his daughter before he went out to war. Turns out it's a Ukrainian man from the Donbass
Yeah, that guy
going
was.
to fight against the Azov battalion.
Is that not okay? So is the Donbass, is that the Nazi side? Because there is this
No,
whole
the
other
Donbass.
angle I haven't even touched.
The Donbass is the Russian-speaking Ukrainians that wanted to separate away from Ukraine ever since the Maidan coup,
So then
and
what
they were
what about
considered Ukrainians up until Russia now just recognized them as a separate country. But the entire time, the whole 8 years from the Minsk agreement, when they agreed to stop bombing the Donbass, up until now, where they continue to do it anyway and kill 14K people, many of which were civilians. They are all Russian-speaking Ukrainians.
wow.
And we talk about how Putin's so evil. Bill Clinton helped get Putin into power.
Yeah, yeah. And Bill Clinton did a whole bombing raid over there. Have you guys ever seen the movie Wag the Dog? Do you guys know Wag the Dog?
Oh yeah, very familiar with it. Yeah.
Let's see the trailer for it. It's actually a really funny movie, but it's basically a movie about Bill Clinton bombing, like, I think because he was having sex with Monica Lewinsky or something, and so he just started bombing Syria. I forget. Let's
Well,
look at the trailer.
but the actual movie though is about how a propaganda campaign, right, is
Yeah.
spun to draw attention away from that. Well, this is what's so interesting. I mean, so for those of you who don't know, I do a podcast called The Get to the Point Review. Amisha's been on it. He was like episode 2. He's a freaking champion and awesome.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, well, we had talked about at one point in time political movies, and what was the recurring theme with every movie that was on our list is how completely relevant the message from political comedies and dramas from then still are today. Like,
Yeah, 100%.
propaganda on rampant. It's just insane.
Yeah, no, it works, man. I mean, it works. And then these are just repeating issues. Like, I can't believe that John Mersheimer talk is from 6 years ago. It's a talk called why Ukraine is the West's fault, or why the West is to blame for Ukraine. It's from 6 years ago. So it's not like these things don't, like, these things repeat. And then you realize, like, things like Crimea, things like Afghanistan, people have been fighting over it for like 1,000 years. It's like goes back to Alexander the Great. And I think Crimea is one of those spots too. It's just a strategic hotspot. Same thing with the Khyber Pass in Pakistan. It's been 1,000 years of like people have been fighting and dying on that spot. It's just a tough spot.
And the whole thing about that with Afghan and all these places is that we say that we're spreading democracy, but these places already had democratically elected leaders.
Yeah.
We came and deposed that to
NATO has no
regimes
right.
in charge.
Yeah, no,
even
we're
Russia
spreading
technically.
McDonald's. We're spreading McDonald's and Federal Reserve banks. That's the only thing we're spreading. That's it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
War machine, man. It is time for another love revolution. If we cannot go to war again. This has to be like another. It's going to be like Vietnam, like 70s. Like 70s was a peace, like a love movement. I think this Russia thing will have to inspire that, because it's the only. If they go to war, it's going to be insane, man. I mean, the nukes is. Putin's saying that he doesn't want. I mean, he said he doesn't want to, but then there's other generals that say like, what is the world without Russia? Like, if we die, why not take everyone else out too? That's kind of the mentality with a lot of people, India, Pakistan too. But
that's one thing that they're saying all the time, because they talk about Russia making nuclear threats, but we made nuclear threats first.
Totally, man.
You know what's interesting is something you said, Amish, about how there needs to be another love revolution. This is the most, I mean, one of the most positive things that I feel that can come out of the wokeism thing is that it can definitely morph into a love revolution, because all we need to do is refine it. The problem is that we're attacking people as though we don't have faults ourselves. You know what I mean? So like we have cancel culture sort of meshing with this whole wokeism, and that's the real problem, because cancel culture is bad in itself just because of the way we approach things. You can't cancel people because of one mistake. That's what makes us grow as human beings.
I said it yesterday too. Canceling people is toxic masculinity. I think. By definition, that's the toxic masculinity. That's like a negative thing that men would do, that we had to stop keep men from doing shit like that. And then other people do it too. Sorry, go ahead.
As a Jimmy Dore leftist, I just have to say, you don't cancel people with bad speech. You give more good speech. That's how you combat it.
Yeah, agreed, man. Same with Joe Rogan, man.
Right.
It's like you think he's being so stupid. Just do your. I mean, there could be a banger podcast that just debunks Joe Rogan. On this channel, dude, we've had one video where Steven talks some shit about Joe Rogan. It's our highest performing video. Like, this is a market. It's an opportunity. Like, just get on it. I mean, just get on it and be like, okay, debunk here. And actually, some people are. There's some great doctors who just say like, so here's all the dumb shit Joe Rogan said this week, all the bro science he engaged in. They do a list. I've seen them and they have good hits. I mean, that's all you can do, really. You're never going to like make everyone stop talking.
Right. Well, and this is what's interesting to me, is that the whole point, I mean, I feel like so many people miss the point of Joe Rogan. It's to start that dialogue. He has those conversations so that doctors who know better will come out and post a video about why he's wrong. Like, that's the whole point, is to start a dialogue. So people are attacking someone who's essentially playing devil's advocate 24/7. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if you listen to his podcast, he always comes into it like, I don't know anything. You know what I mean? Unless you're talking.
He's so humble, man. He apologized too. That's so nice that he apologized.
It's true though, but at the same time, it's true though, but at the same time, you also got to look at. There's no doctors that can come out and speak the truth. CDC in itself has been hiding 10,000 pages of data that they have. We get all of our information from Israel. You know what I mean? We don't know anything about COVID. All of our stuff is outdated.
Yeah, that sucks, man. And we have like a TV. We have like a TV, like all these TV companies because it's America, they're getting paid by the pharmaceutical companies that are trying to sell us these vaccines. So listen, I'm not vax hesitant at all. I got my booster right away. I'll probably just get the fourth one because I don't feel any bad effects of it. So I don't give a shit. I'll take it. The science looks legit on it. But I 100% understand vaccine hesitancy. I mean, there's legitimate reasons for it. It's not just you're so stupid. It's like these corporations are controlling our media.
Exactly. That's the whole you're either with us or against us mentality. If you are hesitant about taking the vaccine, then you're anti-vax. Most of the people they're labeling as anti-vax, I have not heard them say, oh, don't take the vaccine. I've just heard them say their concerns for the vaccine. They call Jimmy Dore anti-vax. He got vaccinated and caught long COVID. That's why he got hesitant over it.
So
you know, if you put out more information, you're gonna figure things out.
You got to figure things out. So Jimmy Dore actually was on Joe Rogan, and Jimmy Dore's pretty wild. Actually, we should talk about him in a second. But he was on Joe Rogan, and he's talking about how like he took it. He tweeted that like, "Hey, I took the vaccine. It kind of hurt my neck." He's saying that a bunch of fucking lefties started yelling at him on Twitter, and then he had to explain to them that like, listen, doctors want this feedback. doctors are taking this feedback and they're improving the vaccine with it. They're figuring out new stuff. I'm not just out here just spouting like, he didn't even say don't take the vaccine. He just said, I took the vaccine, my neck kind of hurts. And everyone's like, you idiot, you're going to create hesitancy, no one's going to take it. It's like,
and this is where cancel culture goes overboard. Like, because I've got 4 degrees. None of them are in film whatsoever. All right. But my BS is in biology. And one of the very first things they teach you in any biology class is that the reason why we're learning this in the first place is because everybody's going to have a different reaction. Everybody. So that piece of data, whether it's negative or positive, is important for scientists, for people who are creating gene therapies. Like, this is all important information. Trying to cancel somebody because they had a bad reaction is just stupid. I mean, and what, like, my mind keeps coming back to what this comes down to. It's an indictment of the American educational system. But I mean, really, it's everywhere. Okay, but because I'm an American, that's what I'm exposed to the most. So that's what I recognize. I mean, there's a reason why the bell curve, so many of us don't realize how stupid 100 IQ is. That's the average, bro. Like, most of the people you meet, bam, holy shit. We're struggling.
Do y'all think that America, are we seeing like a downfall of the American empire, or do you think it's like a little hiccup?
As much as you want to say that we're not, there are so many parallels to take a look at history. I mean, you know, those who don't study history or fail to repeat it, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're repeating it as far as like the Roman Empire goes. You know, like 10 years ago when we were first, well, I mean, not when we were first, I guess 20 years ago. Jesus Christ, time. When we were first entering the war on terror, okay?
Yeah.
I mean,
wow, it's been 20 years, eh? I remember when they started that. It does feel like we're doing that right now, though. It feels very similar. The similar kind of CNN, MSNBC, all getting on board, all like, okay, we got to go. It does seem one-sided. As much as, and we've said this 100 times, as much as like Putin's actions are so wrong, and we support the people of Ukraine, obviously, but like, just it seems like the war machine is getting ramped up, and that worries me. Yeah, but you were saying about the war in Iraq, though, is 20 years ago. Yeah,
it's just like that's. I mean, I forget what I was saying about it, but yeah, like it's just crazy to think about, I guess. Maybe.
That is nuts. The love revolution, man. We need it. The Iraq didn't build that love revolution the way Vietnam did. I wasn't there for Vietnam, but I heard Vietnam had a true love revolution, and the psychedelics are back now.
Yes.
Maybe Iraq didn't have that, but now the psychedelics are back. So it almost does seem, because that for me, especially now that I'm doing like loving kindness meditation, but all these like psychedelics, the psychedelics are always teaching you is that we're actually here to play and have fun with each other. We're not supposed to fight. We're actually animated by that source energy coming in here, right here. You can see behind me. And we're not supposed to fight. And it does seem like maybe now is the time. And it's great. I've heard some great activists talk about this. Some peace activists that are like, you got to get out there and you got to tell the people that they are tricking you. And because you just need more and more people to understand it. But at the same time, not like yell at people, you know, like just have the understanding for everyone. Because it is so quick to like get into a fight with someone, to just be like, as soon as someone says, even someone was saying to us about like they're just very like, Putin's evil, you know what I mean? Well, we got to do something. Putin's evil, and it's like, you're gonna start World War III. Like, what are you, stupid? But even that, we got to watch it, and we just got to say, like, you know, this is where he's coming from, or this is what the situation is. Why can't Biden just call him? So tell me this though, you guys, and for anyone in the audience, did anyone see the Biden speech that he just did? And what is he? Because that is State of the Union. So is he saying he wants to go, or is he saying like not going? Do you guys know?
Just because I don't have to type, I did not see it. Like ever since I left the Ron Paul campaign, like basically 2012.
Well, it is depressing for you, eh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not depressing so much as I gave up and I decided that the best way to pursue freedom was to live free or die myself and live by example. You know what I mean? So it was like, damn what the laws or what politicians are doing. Like, the best way for me to make an impact, same way as a Christian, you know what I mean? Like Michael Jackson, man in the mirror, you know what I mean? You got to start by focusing on yourself. And if you can improve yourself, the world gets better. Like that's the one thing you control, whether it's
Yeah.
not how you approach a situation or a problem or anything. So
Yeah, no, that is what the loving kindness teachings are. Actually, they basically teach that like when you are living at a higher vibration, people around you are kind of like uplifted, and when you're negative, people around you are kind of brought down. I was telling someone this, like when you're talking to someone who's really miserable, and really people who want to fight all the time are deeply miserable, but so I include them too. But when you're talking to people that are really sad, when you start talking to them, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but it's almost like when you get in the conversation, it's either like you're going to make them happy or they're going to make you sad. And that's it. So you almost got to come in and uplift them. And if it's almost like your job, your karma is to uplift the community. It naturally, like whoever you're working with or whoever you got to deal with, you have to find some collaborative outcome that's beneficial for both of you. But the people that are stuck in that way of thinking, that think like everyone's out to get me, there's a fight and like I got to watch or whatever, they're just going to bring you down. Otherwise, they're going to piss you off. They're going to get you caught up in a fight and yelling and all kinds of stuff, you know?
I just saw, I'm sorry, in the chat, Trillin McMillan said, Michael Jackson, LOL, terrible example. We're talking about the music, not his life, bro.
Man in the mirror.
Yeah.
Man in the mirror, dude.
Yeah. Specifically that song. There was a reason why I referenced that song and not his Years at Neverland. Okay.
Yeah. Wrong kind of loving kindness. No, that's not loving kindness. That's terrible. No, for sure.
Because
so sad,
just like we were talking about, focus on, like when you come into a conversation, if you're focusing on the positive, and pretty much every religion sort of teaches this, but naturally from a Christian, it goes back to Christian teachings about how, when you focus on what's positive, when you focus on, I've been drinking tequila. Yay!
Sick.
Philippines.
Man, I can smoke some weed too.
Philippians. I can't remember exactly. I want to say 4:18, Philippians 4:18, where it's talking about when you focus on things that are good, and that's what comes into your life. You know what I mean? It's almost sort of manifestation. What's the law of attraction? Almost law of attraction.
It is almost law of attraction. The problem with law of attraction is that they turn it into like a get rich quick a little bit. Whereas I think this is very much like positive psychology.
Right.
And even the thing I was showing you guys about the internal family systems, Buddhist teaching is like this, Christ consciousness is like this. They basically teach in Christ consciousness that the kingdom of heaven is in you. And the way to get it is forgive. Forgive yourself, forgive everyone else. Because basically every bitterness that you hold is another pulling you down in your consciousness. So every little bitterness that you have, every little grudge that you're carrying, it's another 5-10% of energy lost on this beefing. And it's almost like taking energy away from you. There's a Reverend Michael Beckwith talks about this. Basically says that like when you're really sad or when you're in a dark place, the world becomes this big. You don't see options. You don't see solutions. You just see a fight. You just see like there's darkness. There's some people out to get me. And when you're up in that high vibration, then you see the truth, and it's all like a loving kindness. There's options. There's a collaborative, joyful, net benefit option just sitting right in front of you, but you just couldn't see it, And that's the thing with war. War is like such a great example of that. It's like really the deepest kind of grudge and the deepest kind of trauma playing out, because really all it takes is a phone call. It's just put your ego down. That's it. Just call and say, hey, we shouldn't have done that in NATO. Hey, we should have gave you a couple of shout outs for your job in World War II. You guys saved our asses in World War II. And what have we given you from that? Just from the second it ended. And if you watch have you guys seen the movie Patton? It's a great movie. It's like this general. Yeah. But incredible movie. The actor is so funny too. He's like a comedy actor, I feel like. But because he's such a silly character. But they get to the end of World War II. What's that?
Comedy's all around us.
Comedy's all around us, man. I mean, as I say, God writes the best jokes. But yeah,
he really does.
He really does. But you get to the end of World War II, and he's such a kook, that guy, that they're just like, all right, time to go home. And he's like, go home? Are you kidding me? We can get the Ruskies. We got a couple of 2 more nukes, 2 more of this. We can get a drop on them. Let's go. And he just wants to go and fight them. And they showed in the movie too, he really sets this tone of like, Now they're the enemy. It didn't have to be like that. They could have like a friendship union instead of a fighting union.
But they can't do that though. Biden can't pick up the phone and talk to Putin because
No.
what I believe is the end game is, as Noam Chomsky said, is to own the energy. We couldn't allow the pipelines to be made and filter out Germany with Russian oil. We couldn't allow any of that. And for all this talk about Trump was Putin's puppet, Trump was putting sanctions on that pipeline. Biden's the one who took the sanctions off.
Yeah. This whole Trump is Putin's puppet too. That's why all these liberals are into it too. This is so like this is where you just can't you have to worry about it too much now. Where it's like because they invested in all this Russiagate shit that turned out to be. I mean, just the fact that Hillary Clinton's lawyer is now, I think he's being indicted for planting evidence on that whole thing. Like the whole idea that the Russians are like that Trump is a Russian plant. It's just like their egos are tied to it. The Democratic Party is almost tied to it. And I think if you're a Democrat and you don't toe that line, like people get mad. I can't, there's some people, there's no amount of evidence I can show them. They just don't want to hear it. Kind of like Fauci made the virus. There's some people I can't tell, like I tell them, they're like, well, you're just getting silly now. I have to, like, it takes a half hour of like, okay, let's watch a video. Let's watch another thing. Let's read this article. It takes like, I got to sit for half an hour before I can get some people. They're not coming through on it, you know?
And this is why I left politics, is because at the end of the day, people believe what they want to believe. You know what I mean? Like that's just what it comes down to. People believe what they want to believe, whether it's religion, politics, how they're living their life, whether they're right or wrong. Like they're just solidified in their opinions. And so like, and you know, like it's funny how when you work in politics, you feel like the only way is to argue the facts. But like no one, you know, there's always, you catch more flies with honey rather than, what is it, vinegar? Yeah. Something to that effect. It's like, it's the truth. It's totally 100% the truth.
That is the truth. And you know, Rumi has incredible poetry. And he basically says, raise your words, not your voice. It is rain that grows flowers, not thunder. You know, it's true. I mean, he has great quotes like that, you know, but people, they just don't see it like that. They're just stuck in their fight. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Cherry picking your way into homicidal ideation. Raziel the Great is ripping right now. Trillion McMillion. What's up?
Sorry, I had like Canadian connection for a second.
No worries, man. Look at my Canadian connection. Solid the whole way through. So Hohenheim, you look different from before. Did you lose weight or something?
The jacket, and I came from out back because I'm done smoking.
Oh, sick. No, but Hohenheim, I'm saying it's been a good year since I did your podcast.
Yeah, I've lost weight. Yeah.
Well, you did lose weight. I remember Hohenheim Productions being like, I thought you were. Yeah, I didn't think you were.
I was right now. I was closer to the. I was closer to slightly obese last time we talked. I had picked up COVID-19 as far as pounds wise, right? Yeah.
You had the COVID-19. Is it, you know, they had the freshman 15? It's like, I got the COVID-19.
That's what I call it, the COVID-19.
Did we just coin that? I can't believe nobody said that.
No, I've been hearing that for a year. That's where I picked it up. Okay. I picked up a meme a long time ago.
Look at me trying to take credit for these jokes.
I can't see the chat, but I see the chats that you pin up. And I see Raziel the Great saying that Hillary lost and she could not accept it. And they literally came up with Russiagate. And the funny thing about that is what we end up finding out is that Hillary Clinton's surrogates and contractors were routinely meeting up with Russians. You know what I mean? So you're talking about Russiagate with Trump, but it actually falls the other way.
You always become your enemy, even this NATO, like the fact that NATO is built to stop Soviet expansion. It's like, no, you are expanding. They have not made one bit of expansion. I mean, this on Ukraine is actually really bad expansion, like really bad attack that they've done. Georgia too, Crimea too. But you guys are the ones who like keep pushing and pushing and pushing, I guess you just always become your enemy.
It's
And
funny
that's
how
what's
they
so
always
sad.
fall back on Georgia and Crimea when we had Libya and Yemen and Afghanistan and Iraq and parts of Africa. Like, we literally went all over Europe and other continents. We were in Venezuela. We were in South America. Like we literally, we're not the world police. We're the world bullies.
Yeah. It's time to bring these troops home. There's too much of it.
We're the world's terrorists, man. I mean, I feel like I've been saying that for like 12 years. We are definitely the world's terrorists. Like,
I mean, you know, it's not if you're on, I call it the white side, it's good. But if you're on the brown side, Asian side, and Russian is counts in that too. Like, Russia is a second-class citizen. They are maybe treated the nicest because they're so big and powerful. But if you're Middle East, if you're East Asian, whatever, like, it's just not, like, you're just getting a second-class citizen treatment. You're not playing by the same rules. You could be attacked anytime. Your government can be overthrown every time. Anytime. And Africa, South America.
Even if you're Hispanic, I was born in New York, but I'm of Dominican descent, and DR feels it. You know what I mean? Venezuela feels it. Salvador feels it. You know what I mean? Like we're literally going around and saying, hey, we're the superpower, and the second you start to get great, we kick you down. And the whole funny thing about COVID is we kept all this vaccine, or whatever they want to call it, to ourselves, and we didn't give them out to all these poor countries. And now Cuba comes out, and Cuba comes up with their own vaccine, and they're just handing it out to everyone around the world. Cuba is one of the highest vaccinated countries around.
No, and that's where Bill Gates really sold out, man. Because Bill Gates, like, that vaccine, the American vaccine, it was made with public funding. And it was Bill Gates who said, no, we can't just give it out. And it was in such a crucial moment that people are saying that it might have caused the lives of at least 200,000 people. Just meaningless greediness of, like, no, we can't just give out the vaccine kind of thing.
Yeah, I like that pinned comment right there from Raziel the Great. Obama and his drone program. Here's a statistic to you. Did you know that Obama dropped a bomb every 20 minutes for 8 years?
Really?
Wow.
That's how many bombs Obama dropped.
I was about to say that. I wanted to specify. I've heard that statistic. It's the average as compared
average, literally every 20 minutes.
Yeah. Well, this is what's interesting, though. I mean, so as someone who fought for Ron Paul for such a long time, after leaving politics, what I don't hate, but what I really dislike about most politic talks is that we're so quick to blame it on somebody. Obama was just doing the same fucking thing that Bush was doing, man.
Yep. Trump did the same thing Obama was doing.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Right. Like,
but I do think the left deserves more blame because they sell themselves, like, they do sell themselves as people who love, like, they're supposed to be fighting against it. Now, the Republicans do it because they believe in it, maybe. The Democrats are just doing it because they're weak and spineless, but they're still doing it. It's like, you're supposed to be the counter voice to this. They're carried the prison system, whatever. But now we have both parties doing it. Like, Democrats are doing prison system.
Right.
They're pushing for prison system. They're pushing for war. They're pushing for everything. So it's like, what's the point of this Democratic Party? There's no left-wing left really in America.
Right. And the reason why that spine falls through is because they're being funded by both sides. Like, it's just two sides of the same coin. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Yeah. That's why it seems spineless to us, but it really just comes down to who's putting money where.
Look at Obama when he was running. Look at Obama when he was running. He was talking about he was talking about open healthcare and all the grassroots things that everybody was arguing about. So was Nancy Pelosi. Soon as they get in there, the money starts flowing in. The military-industrial complex starts taking over.
Huge. 60% of our fucking budget, like the whole budget of our entire country. I mean, at least
60% is military. I thought it was like 20.
I mean, feel free to
official numbers. They know how to hide it.
Yeah, but like
official numbers.
I know that. Yeah, but like from when I was in politics, I feel like nothing's changed. So it's a leap for me to assume that the numbers are the same. But back then, 60% of our budget was defense. And how many actual fucking enemies does the U.S. have? Like what? When it comes down to it, the enemies in the U.S. are fucking, poor people the way we treat people. You know what I mean? With the systemic racism, poor people are our fucking enemy. Okay, in USA. So all of this shit across seas is just protecting our interests. It's bullshit.
Yeah, and you got these military contracts. You just got to keep them rolling. Like when you think of who's in NATO, I would say you have that military mentality. Like when World War I started, it was the same thing. It's like these princes and princesses, like they don't want to fight. Like it doesn't even they just think that's so horrific. It's the military generals that are using the contracts, these little things, to make some excuse to go fight. They like to fight. So you have that, and then you have financial interest. Then you got a religious push too. You do have some Christian fundamentalists, maybe you could call them, that are trying to fight, that think that we got to destroy the Middle East so that Jesus can come back. So
That's
just take a second to laugh about that for just a second, because Jesus wasn't white, and we've got a bunch of white people fighting for what's actually an either Middle Eastern or Black Egyptian. Like fucking idiots, man. I can't stand American Jesus. There's no bigger farce in the whole world than a white Jesus.
Jesus is great. His teachings are so peaceful. He's amazing. He'd be so pissed if he knew that they were doing this.
No, yeah, he'd be so pissed.
Yeah.
The bull whipping in the temple, that is like minimal Jesus actual, like, how the way you would feel about it. And I have a lot of Muslim friends too, and like they still respect Jesus. He's a prophet of Islam. You know what I mean? Like, even though they believe that he pulled a special Jesus maneuver where it was a body double that died and was buried for 3 days.
Yeah, I know. My friends used to fight about that. My Christian and my Muslim friend would fight, and they would they would try to take him on their team. And then I would tell them about some Hindu thing, and they'd be like, hey, the real religions are talking. They wouldn't want to hear any Hindu. They'd be like, come on with your Hindu stuff, with your Ganesh.
And this is what's funny, is that the people that I feel like want to end up debating the differences between religion completely forget the common ground, which is always charity and love. Always. All religions. I don't care who you subscribe to. Like,
listen, I'm going to show you guys a slide from my class, but keep going.
No, that's all. It's like
while you're getting that slide ready, I just wanted to announce I'm only bilingual. I only speak Spanish and English, but I do know some Hindi words. I've learned them from a scammer that was yelling at me, from a Microsoft scammer who taught me some swear words in Hindi.
Yo, rip them, dude. I don't think the algorithm is sophisticated enough to catch that.
I've heard mother chode. I've heard ben chode. I've heard chutia, maki taki choi or something like that, or taki maki choi.
Taki maki choi. Yeah. No, these are all. I mean, generally, the interesting thing about India is that they're so respectful that they won't say motherfucker. They'll go sister fucker.
Yeah.
So respectful of a culture. You can't go to the mom. Like, mom is for
that
like,
real?
you gotta do some real shit.
But is that real?
That's real.
Bencho is
that's so great.
Bencho is sister fucker. So the bencho is like the standard, and then if you did some crazy shit, then they go to mom. They won't go to mom.
I'll be like, you mother chode.
Too much respect. They have too much respect. They have too much love for the mom. That's the thing.
Honestly, I love that. That is so great. That it's like, I will call you a sister fucker before I call you a motherfucker.
Yeah, I definitely learned that, and I used Google to learn what it meant. So I think chutia is like idiot or something like that, and then bencho is sister fucker, and I forget what the taki maki choi means.
I think you're getting it's like teri madi.
Yeah, teri madi choi. That's what it is.
It's basically teri madi chut or something. I think it means your mom's vaginal entry. So that's a weird. That chut, I think, is like vaginal. It's like the dirtiest. It's weird. It's like they have that's what happens in India, man. They repress it. I got to show you guys a video of these. Like, in Jainism, they have naked babajis. So they go bless these women's things, and they're completely naked. And I remember we have some aunties over, and I'm telling them and my mom, like, This is why I was like, this is why you guys need to be more open about sexuality. Like you suppress it, and then it's coming out in these silly shit where they just come over naked, like the dick's out, dude, in front of everyone. And yeah, my mom hit me. She was like, "You have no respect." But anyway, this this chart basically shows that so if you on the outside, like every religion is represented here. On the outside are it's almost like the closer you go to the center, the more advanced the teachings. So in every religion, when you get to the middle, like you have Taoism, right? So they believe in this Tao energy. It's a pure loving kindness energy. It's the same energy that's animating all of us. Um, but then even in Islam, Allah means like they don't believe in like a guy. They believe in like this energy, this like love energy. Then there's Logos. Insaf means infinity. Brahman is like I mean they're all basically like, and then even Buddhism, they say void, like they're basically trying to tell you like to think of nothing. But then if you sit in that nothingness, you realize all the nothingness is also a loving kindness energy. Like it's like nothing in the sense that you don't like there's no thoughts. It's just pure blissfulness. But
it's interesting. It's like when you get down to the base of it, the only thing that still exists is love. You know.
Yeah.
What's under Bhagavad Gita? Because like I could only see Raziel's Raziel the Great.
Bhagavad Gita is Hinduism. That's Hinduism down there. Hold on.
Oh, that's what it is.
Cool. Yeah, I can see that one.
Can you see it now? Yeah. Yeah, but Bhagavad Gita is like a very conservative teaching, in my opinion. I mean, it's basically a Hindu. The Bhagavad Gita is like a speech before like a war in Hinduism. So even Hinduism, these Tantra teachings, Tantra is basically like a loving kindness teaching. And my teacher, he basically calls it heart-centered. So he basically says that the more advanced teachings are love-centered, and then the lower level basic teachings in all the religions, this is across the board, they actually become about like fighting and stuff. So the Bhagavad Gita, like if you go here, the Tantric and the Brahman, that's all like loving kindness energy, loving kindness. Like they have these things called like Bhakti Yoga where like you have to love everyone. They have practices like this. Singing and dancing is actually a big part of this. And if you look at Islam, they have Sufism. Sufism, their main meditation is like this spinning dance. It's supposed to be incredible.
And they sing too in Islam. They sing. They sing. You know, they sing the Quran.
Yeah, fucking beautiful. Holy crap!
You could Sufi teachers themselves are incredible. Like Sufi mystics they have banger poetry. Well, Rumi, I said one earlier. Rumi has incredible poetry, but their poetry is about how like you are one with God and God loves you and you are the beloved and you are dancing in the dance of the beloved. Like it's all stuff like that. And it's all, I'd say, a heart-centered approach. And all abhor violence. Like violence is unacceptable. And yeah, these are the more advanced teachings though. As you go into the center, it becomes more about loving kindness. And as you get further from that, because you're traumatized, whatever issues, it becomes more about fighting. So the bottom one is Hinduism. Bhagavad Gita, it is basically a speech. In my opinion, it's basically war propaganda because Hinduism has a caste system. And this is basically the war epic. It's called Mahabharata, which literally translates to Game of Thrones, essentially. But the Hindu Game of Thrones, it is the upper class using the poor people to take over the South,
propel themselves.
Basically to like set themselves up as like the upper class forever and to kind of brainwash everyone else into supporting this caste system. So I don't really agree with that. I'm sure Christianity has very similar stuff too, but that would all be in the last ring, which is really furthest from God. So yeah, the closer you go, they all become like a loving kindness teaching.
This is what's interesting about I noticed two things about that chart that you were showing. So one is that when I was like 17, kind of right before I got into Ron Paul, I was studying Buddhism because I'd grown from the time I was like 8, I was an atheist. When I was like 17, my friends essentially talked me out of being an atheist and to being to essentially and opening myself to something more spiritual than the agonizing, deplorable world that we were going to just end up in the dirt. Okay. So I decided to open myself to that and started studying Buddhism. Most of the American books that I have on Buddhism basically merge Buddhism and Taoism rather than separating them as two separate religions. And that I just realized that looking at this chart, and that infuriates the hell out of me. I'm like, what the hell, man? Like, I couldn't get a.
I'm going to tell you something that's going to make you feel a lot better about that in a second. But go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just saying because in my mind, as an American, I was studying Buddhism. Come to find out, I was studying both of them in sort of like a migration. It's somewhere in between the two of them. It just infuriates me because it delegitimizes what I believe I knew about Buddhism. You know what I mean?
Here's the thing:
like when you realize you're an idiot.
No. Don't be so hard on yourself, dude. Because here's what happened with Buddha. Here's the thing: we are in a Western paradigm, right? So we look at Christianity and Islam as our baseline examples. When these two religions met, they fought from day one. They haven't stopped fighting.
Right, and I understand
a percentage of our wars to this day is coming from that. And you could say Islam might have even been built out of the trauma. They are like a continuation of Christianity, but I've heard some theories that they might have been started as a fight back against the Christians that kept coming in and attacking the Middle East. So they had to build this thing to give them strength. So, but stark difference to that. If you look in the East, you have Buddhism. Now, Buddhism started within Hinduism. So he's Hindu, kind of like Jesus in Christianity. Jesus is Jewish, becomes Christian, whatever. Buddha is Hindu. He's like a Hindu prince. Invents Buddhism. In India, they don't like it because they love the caste system, the upper class. They don't like it. Buddhism goes to China, basically. China already has Taoism. Now, unlike, how we assume religions meet, when Buddhism met Taoism, they came to each other and they said, hey, we believe in this loving kindness energy. It's the Tao. It flows in all of us. And the Buddha, so that's what the Tao tells the Buddhist. The Buddhist says, wow, that's incredible. We actually believe the same thing. We just call our Tao this and we call it this, but very similar. And then we also have this. And then the Taoist said, oh my God, that's amazing. It is a bloodless meeting of religions. And actually, that's where Zen came from. So Zen practice is very much influenced by both. And they call it first they call it Dzogchen in China.
Yeah.
It becomes Dhyan and then becomes Dzogchen, which is in Japan it becomes Zen. But the teachings are there, and every religion has them though. The Sufis are very much connected to that. They have a very similar teaching. Sufis do Christ consciousness, Kabbalah, I think, and then in Egypt they have like another Hermetic principles that are very close to that too. And they're all like trying to teach. They're all basically teaching us that this life is like some kind of a loving kindness video game, where there's like an infinite love at the top. That's what we really are. Then we jump into an ego to come play this game, and the whole game is you forget that you're loved, so that you can say, "Oh, I'm loved." Like it's like the constant remembering. That's the game. And actually, in a way, the people that are going into the military and fighting and getting caught up in pure hatred, that's because God's a freak. And God's saying, I wonder what it would be like if I need this simulation to be so tight, like to be so wild that like there needs to be a Hitler in it. Like I need to go to that level because I want to go to that level of hatred and realize that like I'm God again, because it's that realization that is almost like the joy of it all or whatever. But
that's why you're the Babaji, Amish. That is why.
That is why. And I think that's a wrap. That's a wrap, dude. I gotta come back live tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm gonna do the dating one. I want to talk about this guy Tom Torero who got canceled, and then I think he killed himself. But he's like a pickup artist. I feel bad because they're so aggressive on these guys. This guy was so nice. He was a sweet guy, and they just Newsweek article got him, and then I think he like killed himself. It was like 2 weeks ago. He committed suicide. I know, he was so sweet, man. He was like the kind of guy that, his teachings, he'd just be like his teachings were like, all right, Sanjay, all right, you're a good guy, you're a good bloke, you're a catch. Now go over to that bird, look her in the eye, and say, excuse me, if you have a moment, I just want to say you're absolutely smashing, and I'd like to have a chat. And dude, he's doing this, and these other Newsweek people with cameras, like, excuse me, you're picking up girls. You're not allowed to pick up. Like, they're coming in with other cameras to rip him. It's so sad. And then yeah, he I guess he committed suicide. But that's what his teachings were basically. He was just like, they really got to stop calling it pickup artist and call it like men's dating coach or something. Because I feel like men's dating coach, you just do whatever the hell you want. This guy just, man, they really, yeah. But tomorrow is our dating episode though. Tomorrow I do want to talk about dating scams. I'll ask Elaine if she wants to come, but I might get my friend in Toronto, Angelica. She's a comedian too, and she's a freak. So hot and only dates like 50, 60-year-olds. Crazy, I know.
She knows what she wants.
She knows what she wants, dude. From the day I met her. I'll just be out somewhere and I'll just see her with like just so in love, holding hands, and I'm like, yo, this guy's just great, like just old man, and he's just the happiest guy in the world. That's Angelica, man. She's into that. She loves it. You know what I'm saying? She loves it. Yeah. So I think we're gonna get her on tomorrow, if not next week. But tomorrow I'm gonna be talking about all dating scams, and then I'll probably talk about that guy getting canceled because, yeah, I feel bad for the guy. He seems like such a nice guy. But Ed, thanks for coming on. Thanks for chatting, guys. I appreciate you.
Definitely.
Always.
Gotta do this again sometime.
Applejack, nice to meet you finally. And Hohenheim, good to see you, man. You are thriving. You're looking actually. I didn't recognize you at first, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my hair is a lot different. I had the same.
Yeah, dude, you did a full straight eye
year.
for the gay guy. No, queer eye for the straight guy. You queer eye for the straight guy yourself. No, this guy was. You were honestly last year. You were pretty silly. You were like a different character almost. This is like a big improvement, man. You look great.
But last year though too, I was in a really bad relationship. It was physically abusive.
Oh my god.
Yeah, emotionally and physically abusive. It was really hard to be myself without being beat up on, man. Like any step out of line for what she wanted, and I had to get my ass whooped, man. It was great.
My god, I'm so sorry, dude. Yo, you gotta come on the show tomorrow if you have time.
I'm better now. I was gonna say, so this is the thing, Amish. If you want me to, so I'm a sex addict. I've been in recovery now since 2018, so about 4 years.
Nice.
6 kids. I've probably honestly had over 120 fucking relationships in my life. If you want someone to talk about dating advice and shit, man, like
wow, this is a sex addict with receipts. I got 6 kids.
It's reality.
I love fucking so much. I can afford these kids. I got 6.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Like it's the truth. But like this thing,
is it like 6 because like you're such a sex addict that you're like, there's just been 6 like, there's been like 3 of the 6 occasions are just like, baby, get a condom. Nah, fuck the condom, man. Let's just
fuck the condom. Yeah. No, man. So 5 of my children are from my first marriage, and then 1 of them is from after the marriage. So no, that's not the case. I mean, I'm a hoe. I'm just not that kind of hoe.
That's great. I mean, that's great that you got 6 kids. That's very prosperous of you, brother. That's great. That's a real blessing, dude. Those kids are gonna take care of you when you're old. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, right. And like, I have like a 1 in 6 chance of at least one of them loving me enough.
Yeah, you can't miss now.
Yeah, dude. I never believed in like marriage and kids until my dad was dying in the hospital, and we would all go to see him, and I'm like, this is why you need kids. They're trying to sell me on love and shit. I don't give a fuck about love. When you get old, dude, and be by yourself, you're fucked, man. You need the kids there to love you.
It's like the only way
to sons are okay, but daughters are there. They're like with you. The hospital's full of daughters. Just
damn, I gotta get a daughter then. I only have a son.
Yeah.
If I
have the extra loving kindness.
If I had more daughters, I'd sell you one, Adam. But real quick though, before we got off here, I just wanted to address. So Trillian McMillan had said that to not get caught up in the specifics of it. Like, it was infuriating to me about the whole Buddhism and Taoism thing, for the simple fact that, like, as spiritual as I am, I still want to. You want to be fucking right. You know what I mean? So I just can't imagine how stupid I would have sounded if I had been speaking to a Buddhist who knew it from an Eastern background, as opposed to me who learned it from a Western background. How ignorant I must have sounded. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where it's infuriating because it's not that so much that I want to be right, so much as I want to have the information, the correct information. You know what I mean? It's not an ego thing like I want to be right, but more so like I want to be working from a place of common ground, and you can't do that if you misunderstand someone.
Right.
Right. Okay, yeah. I mean, listen, you know, the other thing about those teachings is that they're much less dogmatic and much less like about following a strict book. Like
Which is
Taoism
exactly
is about like loving the moment,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
So, and it's full of these like weird, like they have contradictions too, but they have contradictions where it's like these Zen masters, like someone asks them a question and then they just do a joke. Because they're just like, no, this life is meaningless. You're trying too hard. Like that's the kind of mentality they have. They're not even so. So any Zen or Buddhist or Taoist who says you didn't even know the facts, like that, it goes against their teaching. Sufi too. They would never do that. They would always come to a place of like, what is the emotional place you need to get to? What is the heart centered kind of way of thinking about it? So yeah, no, don't worry about it too much, man. It's more about inspiring you and being joyful in the moment than it is about like. I got
absolutely.
this writer, you know? Yeah,
you know, I also have this sort of self-examination thing where, you know, you're only going to be as hard on other people as you are on yourself. And so if I'm going to be hard on other people, I have a responsibility to do the same thing with myself. I hold myself to high standards. You know what I mean? If I expect other people to have right information, I want to have the same information. You know?
That's respect, though. That's respectful because most people, it's a tunnel vision. They see what they know and what they know is correct. You can't tell them otherwise.
And the world is just, the universe is too wide for a narrow perspective.
Right.
No one is ever right. Like that is one of those things they teach a lot over there that like they have so much poems like that. They're like, this person's right in the morning and then they're wrong in the afternoon. Like it's never, it always like it's almost like the more sure you are of something, the more it's just going to disappear one day, or it's just not going to be that anymore, you know?
Yeah,
it's weird. But yo, let's call it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Definitely.
Been great guests. Come back tomorrow. Hohem, would love to talk about this on that love drip tomorrow. So yeah, I already know what I'm talking about tomorrow. Still got to figure out Thursday, Friday. Hit me up on Instagram, everyone. Send me some topic ideas. Would love to, even if you want to send me topic, honestly, the best is probably reaction videos. So if you have some banger reaction videos, you can put them up. I'll just play and pause, talk shit over them, read your comments. I think that could make some good episodes. And let's try this daily thing. Daily ribs, baby. Thanks everyone for coming.
Yeah, I'll be in tomorrow.
Yeah, man. Thanks, dude. And and to everyone in the audience too, like don't get too caught up in the negativity. Don't get too caught up in the fighting. You know what I'm saying? Be a beacon of that loving kindness that can maybe bring people together and get them talking, you know?
Yeah. Oh my God, I just read this. I'm sorry. Drip, rip, and dip. That's it. Subscribe and like unless you love the scammers. I love that.
Yeah. I think he types that almost every drip episode. I've seen that near the end almost every time.
I love that.
No, it's been scrolling the whole time. It's always there.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, man.
Amish, just piggybacking off of what you said. So earlier we had talked about how our perspective sort of about how when you go towards negative things, that's what tends to pop up in your life and positive. So as a filmmaker, it was incredibly frustrating that one of the most memorable lines I had ever heard was written by J.J. Abrams. But it's that the way you feel determines how you interpret the world. And so just from that basis, if you feel good, man, you're going to see the good thing. If you feel negative, you're going to feel. So like as the congregation, we should be focusing on love, even if it's just right here in the 26,000 people watching right now.
Yeah, man.
You know?
100%. You know, that is so true. Like how you feel determines how you see the world. Now that you said that, I do have to show my other teaching slide. Now that you mentioned it, I have to show you the teaching slide.
Before you go on the slide, I do have a little brown to pick with all the religions on your last slide. I didn't see anything about paganism or Wicca.
Oh no,
or
I think
like that.
paganism was. Yeah, no, they got killed up by the Christians, didn't they? No, I think they have Gnosticism. Is paganism part of Gnosticism?
Paganism is the belief that, a lot of people say that it just means a country dweller, but paganism is more of you're an average person learning of multiple gods. Like the way they like to say it is, every Wiccan is a pagan, but not every pagan is a Wiccan, because Wiccans are teachers, whereas pagans are the learners.
Sick. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I gotta look into paganism. I always thought paganism was similar to Taoism, actually, from what I can tell, but I don't know. I gotta look into it more.
And
but,
this is what's interesting about. Oh, I was going to say, this is what's interesting about perspective is that I've always had the impression that paganism is basically just like Hinduism, in the sense that no matter what pagan god you were subscribed to, they're all have some sort of mythical understanding, right? Like,
they seem to be metaphors of nature, right? So it is almost like a religion that teaches you to honor nature and to honor, like,
that's how I've always
masculine, feminine energy, and then nature. And I feel like that's very similar to Shintoism too.
Yeah. In the sense that I was just going to bring up. God damn, man! I keep bringing that. I'm so sorry, Amish. I know you're trying to get that off here.
No, you were saying though that how you feel determines how you see the world. This is what I was saying before too, about like when you like the worse you feel, the less of the world you almost have access to. So when you're in a really dark place, you only see, your vision is this much. And this is like a funnel that's made by this American, he is a scientist, David Hawkins. And this is very interesting. You could say that the teachings of all these heart-centered approaches to spirituality, their teachings are ultimately to rise up towards, like, the purpose of life is to keep rising up. And the way to rise up is to take on challenges that give you that lift kind of thing as you overcome them. So yeah, man. But thanks for coming, guys.
Definitely.
I gotta call it. We're gonna rip again tomorrow.
Absolutely. I can dig it in.
We're gonna set up the schedule this week too. I gotta figure out like maybe consistent times, like to go to stream and stuff. But yeah, it's gonna be great, man. Daily rips. This is gonna be awesome. Thanks, guys, for coming.
Whenever you're up tomorrow, hit me up on Discord. Just let me know a rough time about when you guys are going to be going. I mean, cool. I get notifications from the drip anyways, but just in case.
Yeah, I got my notifications on.
Yeah, you're not an IG on your drip. Oh, so you guys have notifications on the Discord, eh?
I have it on YouTube, but I also have your IG.
Yeah. Hit me up on IG. is the easiest. Discord, I don't go in there really.
My same name, CEB Applejack.
Sick. Okay, cool. Well, thanks to everyone for watching. You are loved. Loving kindness, all that stuff. God is great, and we'll see you tomorrow. Drip, drip, rip, and dip. That's it, baby.
Drip, rip, and dip.